today's video, we are continuing our popular 9mm versus .380 ballistics gel test series. For our 2022 spring test, we are taking a look at two popular ammunitions as far as defensive ammunitions go in both .380 ACP and 9mm. The first of those ammunitions we're taking a look at is the SIG Elite Defense V-Crown Jacketed Hollow Point. In .380, this has a 90 grain projectile that we're shooting today. The 9mm version we're shooting today has the 124 grain projectile. As a comparison, we are going to be shooting a different type of .380 and 9mm ammunition, a different type of hollow point, but still a expanding projectile. In this case, it is going to be Winchester Defender, Stop the Threat. This is a bonded jacketed hollow point. In .380, we are shooting the 95 grain version of the ammunition. In 9mm, we are shooting the 147 grain version of the ammunition. Both of these are considered bonded jacketed hollow points, as opposed to the V-Crown just jacketed hollow point. A couple other mentionables here for today are the ballistics gel we're shooting is 10% FBI grade ballistics gel. It is synthetic ballistics gel from Clear Ballistics. The ballistics gel is going to be shot at from a distance of 10 yards. The firearms that we're using today are both the micro compact double stack P365 chambered in 9mm and .380. This is so we have what we consider as close to identical firearms as can be between the two calibers for our comparison. The chronograph we're using to get our results here is the Labradar Doppler radar chronograph. We affectionately refer to it as Doppler 1. And now, let's hit the range!
Portions of today's video were filmed at the beautiful Banner Shooting Range. The ballistics gel portions of today's video are filmed at the little slice of heaven we affectionately call the Training Center.
In the comparison, we have two 9mm ammunitions represented. The first of those that we are going to test is 9mm SIG Elite Defense. This is a 124 grain jacketed hollow point V-Crown projectile. Advertised velocity on the box is 1,165 feet per second. Let's find out. I'm going to aim at the bottom right-hand target. Got a little more kick than the .380. 1,143. 1,174. 1,171. 1,170. 1,157. I'm going to speculate that ammo is tailored for the P365 we're shooting.
For our SIG Elite Defense 9mm 124 grain jacketed V-Crown, we have an average velocity of 1,163 feet per second. The highest velocity was 1,174 feet per second. Lowest velocity 1,143 feet per second. The difference between the highest and lowest velocity is 31 feet per second. Standard of deviation was 13 across our 5-shot sample. These are just numbers on a page. Let's see how this ammunition does now in our accuracy test.
Okay, for today's accuracy test, we're going to do something a little different. Usually we put holes in paper. Instead, we are going to try to hit steel gongs here. Now what we're going to try to do is hit all 5 shots on a gong. I am going to do 4 shots at the green silhouette gong that is set up at 20 yards. Our 5th shot will be at the red circle gong that is set up at 18-ish yards. My first 4 shots will be at the green silhouette. The 5th shot will be at that right-hand circle gong. I am going to start with our 9mm ammunition today.
because I don't want what we call recoilization to come into effect after shooting all the 380s and then shooting the 9mm, and the difference in recoil is so drastic that you shoot it even worse. So we're going to do the 9mm first so that doesn't happen. Starting with the SIG Elite Defense V Crown 124 grain jacketed hollow point. Here we go, 5 shots. And because I have the Winchester Defender, we're just going to do a brief pause, and this will be in one take. Here we go. Well, that's a good sign, right? We knocked the head clacker out. Okay, are you ready?
Ready.
This is SIG Elite Defense 124 grain jacketed hollow point, 2 shots.
We're first going to discuss the penetration depth in our gel with the SIG V-Crown ammunition. We can see with the 2 rounds captured in the block, we have one at 12¼ inches, and the one that we happened to cut out on the day of testing that you don't see in this picture was at about 13½ inches. Here you can see an image from our day of testing showing the 2 rounds in the gel block for reference. Now, one thing we're going to try in this video, we're trying a few new things. Computer enhance. I changed the levels on this picture a little bit to try to better show some of the things our eyes see that it's hard for my digital camera and me, the combination, to focus on. So we're going to use some computer enhanced techniques to try to show that here. Now, one thing I think that is awesome about our tests this day is by far this gel block, the weather, the lighting, in terms of the sun. Thank you, Mother Nature, you were awesome. Thank you for agreeing to our schedule this day. We have an awesome, these are not accidents, these are Bob Ross gel paintings in our Ballistics gel block that are almost evergreen tree, not an accident paintings in our gel. You can see the little swirl pattern. You can see where what I'm calling the expanded fluting of the round is represented in our gel block, in my opinion. Here is a close-up of that Christmas tree pattern in the gel. I would say ignore the one in the middle. We actually did 3 shots that kind of deviated out. But even in that one, you can see that it has what we're going to call the Christmas bush action instead of full-on Christmas tree. It's like at the where Bob Ross would put those little bushes in front of the trees in our painting with a river and maybe a little cabin. You get the idea. While we're on the topic of rounds that deviated a little low, I want to give a shout out to our node name brand that I'm going to call Menards brand foldable card table here. On this day of testing alone, I probably put at least a dozen rounds into that little inch border at the bottom of the table and put a bunch of divots through the top. It might now look like a Mad Max table, but it's still as fully functional as a card table or an eating table or anything else. Thumbs up. There have been tables in the past where one stray round that sort of nicks them turns them into confetti. This one holds up fantastic, especially at, I think we got it for $40 and it's now on sale, even better. Let's move on. The final image we're going to talk about during our 9mm V Crown 124 grain breakdown is probably one of our thumbnail images. This one that looks, this might be the best picture we have ever got in a gel test, I'm just saying. It looks fantastic, marketing material worthy. No, SIG did not pay us for this shoot. This just happens to be a happy accident, we'll say. This picture looks awesome, and if you were going to ask me, why do I think we got such amazing Bob Ross Christmas tree painting action in that gel, this still image, in my opinion, represents why we got the results we saw in that permanent wound cavity.
Let's now go to our Winchester Defender 147 grain bonded jacketed hollow point and see how that compares. The eighth and final ammunition we're getting numbers on this morning is 9mm Winchester Defender Stop the Threat. This is a 147 grain bonded jacketed hollow point. Advertised velocity on the box is 1,000 feet per second. I am going to aim at the top right hand target. Let's see what velocity we get on this one. $984. 1,026. 975. Ooh, that was me. 1,012. 1,016. For our Winchester Defender 9mm 147 grain bonded jacketed hollow point, we had an average velocity of 1,003 feet per second. Highest velocity was 1,026 feet per second. Lowest velocity was 975 feet per second. The difference between the highest and lowest velocity was 51 feet per second. Our standard of deviation was 22. That's across our 5-shot sample. Now these again are just numbers on a page. Let's see how this ammunition does with regards to accuracy now. Yeah, I think that was 304. Okay, so maybe 305. We'll have to count it up. Okay, this is Winchester Defender 147 grain bonded jacketed hollow point. I feel like I saw the high-tech fleece bullet stopper rock.
We'll begin the discussion with this ammunition on the penetration depth in the ballistics gel. It's quite easy with this ammunition. 100% of the rounds that we fired went 100% through our 16 inches of ballistics gel. It is what it is. We did have to use the high-tech fleece bullet stopper to catch one of these rounds so we could assess the hollow point expansion. Let's zoom in now and take a look at the permanent wound channel we'll say that this ammo has produced. For both the 9mm SIG V Crown and this Winchester Defender, in my opinion, we see excellent permanent wound channel for the first 10 inches of our ballistics gel. Let's now take a look at another image that is probably right up there, 1A, with what I said for the SIG ammo. This is one of the most impressive images that we've ever captured in our gel tests here. one thing that we can see is coming out the gel, we happen to capture that bullet, which is the first time ever looking sideways at a bullet traveling that we have managed to capture a bullet in flight in a frame. Now, going by my math and how the GoPro that we were using for those side shot works, I think we were taking one image, one frame of video every 8 milliseconds. I believe the bullets are traveling the distance that camera is watching in a span of 1 millisecond. So we needed 16 inches and 17 pounds of ballistics gel to slow down that round enough to allow us to capture it on camera here in this neat little sideways shot. A cooler thing I think that we see here is if we look at this beginning part of the gel about 4 to 6 inches in, we can see in these sort of exploded, what I'm going to call the gel energy bubble, a magnified image of that hollow point as it expanded in the gel. So we see that hollow point expanded here in the gel, frozen in time, and according to this image, in that same moment of time, that bullet is also outside of our gel block. Why? Now, I kind of talked about this in our previous gel video a week or so ago. I believe some of the very Cheech and Chong-esque pictures that we got in our gel are due to the nature of how digital cameras take pictures and sort of stitch together thousands of images to present the frame that is presented to us. And I think that is again what we see here, much like in, say, some of the slow-mo portions of the video where you'll see that the shadow reacts to the impact before the actual gel block does. I think that we are seeing the way the camera is stitching together all these frames. We're seeing the bullet in multiple places because it is traveling so fast in comparison to the frames that we're taking that it's being captured in multiple places in that single frame that is stitched together. That's my not an expert opinion. I'm curious to see what you think about it. But I do think this giant blown up bulbous gel snapshot of that hollow point is an amazing picture, in my opinion. Since we're to the point where we are going to compare some hollow point expansion, we might as well take a look at the V-Crown versus our Defender hollow point and compare them a little bit. Looking at these rounds, I would say both rounds we have marketing material matches what you see on the box expansion fired into ballistics gel. There are some notable and noticeable differences looking at these rounds. In my opinion, I think we can say, or at least I can say in my opinion, that the SIG round expanded to a greater degree compared to our Winchester Defender round. I also think you can tell based on the design of this SIG round as it expanded to sort of expose flutes in that hollow point. I think the design, it almost looks like a, I don't know, propeller prop or something. That design where it exposes these spiky spines in the hollow, in the tines that folded back, are responsible for that cyclone pattern I think we see in the gel, and then the permanent wound channel that causes as a result. Let's now look at this ammo from a different angle, and I think this is a good shot to highlight the differences between a bonded hollow point and a jacketed hollow point. If we look at our Winchester bonded hollow point, there is no evidence of any separation between the jacket and that soft lead inner core. Comparing that to our SIG V-Crown, we can see in multiple places on this V-Crown the copper jacket has started to separate from that lead inner core. Now, could that potentially mean when it impacts a bone or some other hard material we could see full separation of that copper jacket and the lead core? I think so. We'll need to test that though against a meat target and see what happens. And now let's get to the part of this video many of our viewers are probably looking forward to, the 380 portion of the video.
Don't forget to like and subscribe so Freddy gets his biscuits.
Okay, fifth ammo we are looking at today is going to be the SIG Elite Defense. This has a V-crown jacketed hollow point, 90 grain. Advertised velocity on the box, 980 feet per second. Let's find out. I'm going to aim at the center bullseye of our right-hand target now. $923. 963. 948. 934. 946.
For the SIG Elite Defense 380 with a 90 grain jacketed V-crown, we have an average velocity of 943 feet per second. Highest velocity was 963 feet per second, lowest velocity 923 feet per second. The difference between the highest and lowest velocity was 41 feet per second. Our standard of deviation was 15.3 across a 5-shot sample size. Again, numbers on a page. Let's see how this ammunition does in our accuracy test today.
Okay, our final 10 shots were going to be 5 the 380 SIG Elite Defense, followed by 5 shots of the Winchester Defender 380 jacketed bonded hollow point. Same as before, 4 at the silhouette, 1 at the right hand gong for each one. Here we go, SIG Elite Defense. These will be the SIG Elite Defense in 380. That one's recording, right? Yes. Okay, here we go. 2 shots. I'm going to reposition the block slightly. Okay. Feel good on the... Okay, here we go.
Well, that went all the way through. Shoot one more.
Yeah, we'll do one more.
I saw the thing move. I think
I'm a little low on some of these.
yeah. Don't think that one went all the way through.
The other one didn't either.
Oh.
Okay. Let's first look at the penetration depth we got in the gel from this 90 grain SIG V-crown ammunition. As you can see here, we have an average depth between 9 1/4 and 9.5 inches. Not exactly spectacular. We've seen worse. We've seen better. I would put this sort of in the middle of the road range in terms of 380 performance on penetration. And no, you're not imagining things. I have intentionally blurred out half of this image to not spoiler part 2 of the 380 discussion. Penetration depth isn't the only element of the equation on how well does an ammo perform. Let's take a look at this image here. And much like with our 9mm version of the ammunition, we have some very Bob Ross-esque trees that are not accidents in our gel block. Very picturesque images today with how clear this block is and how nice the sunshine is and Mother Nature. Thanks for cooperating. And here we can see in very similar fashion to what we saw with our 9mm ammunition, that with our 380 V-Crown ammunition, the design of that expanded projectile really lends itself to this cyclone action in the ballistics gel. That is not an accident. This ammunition is designed, in my opinion, to elicit this type of performance in a fluid body, like say something that's 70% liquid, for example. Before we break down a few more images and get down to the heart of our 380 versus 9mm discussion today, let's take a look at the last ammunition in today's video, the 95 grain Winchester Defender Bonded Jacketed Hollow Point in 380 ACP. Okay, sixth ammo we are taking a look at now is the Winchester Defender. Stop the Threat. This is a 95 grain bonded jacketed hollow point. Advertised velocity on the box is 1,000 feet per second. I am going to aim at the top left-hand target. Here we go. $906. 1,004. 1,021. 995. 959. And other than my one flyer that's me, a very good group out there.
For our Winchester Defender 380 95 grain bonded jacketed hollow point, we had an average velocity of 977 feet per second. Highest velocity was 1,021 feet per second. Lowest velocity was 906 feet per second. The difference between the highest and the lowest velocity was 114 feet per second. Standard of deviation was 45.4 across our 5-shot sample size. And for the final time, these are just numbers on a page. Let's do that accuracy test.
Okay, and now Winchester Defender. That one definitely went 5 for 5. Finally, a good hit on the gong. It almost looks like the hollow point is stuck into that right-hand gong. This is the Winchester Defender Bonded Jacketed Hollow Point. I'm gonna do one more.
Okay.
Taking our first look at the ballistics gel performance for this Winchester Defender 95 grain bonded jacketed hollow point in 380, I think here we see a combination of good and bad things sort of competing with each other. In our ballistics gel block, I'm going to say we have very underwhelming penetration depth of about 5.5 inches. On the bright side, what we see is very good to excellent hollow point expansion and evidence of very good permanent wound channels. Though that, again, that penetration depth very underwhelming. If we counterpoint that with where our SIG ammunition performed at between 9.25 and 9.5 inches, we see that the Winchester round went, I'm going to say, significantly less deep in the block compared to our SIG V-Crown 90 grain ammunition. Here we can see the permanent wound channel left in the block by these rounds. It's a very impressive permanent wound channel for a 380 round, and frankly the expansion on this round is very impressive, but again, penetration depth not very impressive. We can see through the entire length. I mean, we're looking at the entire wound channel and the round is still in the picture, and we're not looking at but 5 inches, 5.5 inches of block. Here is yet another angle of this round in our gel block. Again, we can see not very impressive penetration depth, very impressive permanent wound channel. I would say we see a better permanent wound channel action compared to our SIG V-round ammo, though that may be a little hard to distinguish the two with the angle and whatnot. We're now going to look at the hollow point rounds that we have removed from the blocks, starting this time with the SIG on the left side in 380. We can see a round that looks very similar to our 9mm version of this round, though I think even though we are seeing very good hollow point expansion on this round, in my opinion, compared to the 9mm, it's not quite as rolled back with that spine exposed. So we don't see quite as big of a vortex cyclone in our gel block, we'll say. Countering that with our Winchester round, and in this case, we see the Winchester has, in my opinion, significantly more hollow point expansion in terms of the volume of area it takes up compared to our SIG round. Now in the 9mm test, that was reversed. The SIG round took up, in my opinion, more volume on the area of expansion compared to our Winchester. Not the case in 380. Now one thing that I think is questionable on this, and that's probably not the right word, but on this 9mm, or excuse me, the 380 Winchester round is that round expanding so much that it is causing so much drag that it caused less penetration than what would have been desired. I think that's one thing we're going to need to look at in a meat target test this fall is, on one hand, the permanent wound channel is very impressive. On the other hand, the penetration depth very underwhelming. And if we put something like a winter coat on our meat target, are we going to see not as much damage as we expect for a round that in ballistics gel is expanding as much as it is? Let us know in the comments if that's something you're curious about as much as we are. One thing that we can see here, again, that's very similar between our V-Crown 380 and 9mm is there is evidence of separation between the jacket and that soft lead core in various points around this hollow point. Very similar to what we saw on the 9mm ammo again. Looking at our Winchester ammunition, we don't see that, though at this angle you can't really tell because of the nature of how it expanded. If we look at the rear side of this projectile, we get a little better view of how that bonding action has kept the core and that jacket one piece on this Winchester Defender ammo. And from this angle, we also get another shot to just appreciate how much expansion is going on with that round. Before we get to the conclusion to yet another video, I'd like to take a moment and thank the friends and family that I affectionately refer to as the crew on this channel. Without the crew's support, we would not be able to make these videos. Videos like these gel test videos not only require a great deal of time, materials like the ballistics gel and ammunition, they also require us to be able to go to special locations that will allow us to shoot ballistics gel instead of just paper targets. Without the support of the crew, videos like this would not be possible. Thank you. We have reached the conclusion to yet another video. For the 4 ammos we looked at today, I would say we had velocity performance on par with what was advertised on the box. For the SIG ammo, I tend to believe it is tailored to function well out of these micro-compact double-stack firearms, but that's just my opinion. I didn't expect the Winchester ammo to have numbers so close to what was printed on the box. We had maybe 3 feet difference between our tests and the box. Not nearly enough to say there's a difference, in my opinion. In previous tests, we have seen hollow point performance when shooting the same brand type of 380 versus 9mm that is fairly similar. Usually, the most notable differences are there are advantages that go to 9mm in terms of velocity and penetration as a result, which is to be as expected. That trend continued today, but unlike our past tests, there was one ammo where we did see a significant difference in performance between the 9mm and 380 ammunition, that being the Winchester ammo. From what I can tell, Winchester sells the Defender ammo in 9mm with a 147 grain projectile. In 9mm plus P, that goes down to a 124 grain projectile. The SIG Elite ammo is available in a wide variety of bullet weights. Had we ordered off the inner tubes, we could have probably found the 147 grain ammunition and been more similar in weight to our Winchester 9mm we were testing, but we went with what was available locally when we were buying ammo, which happened to be the 124 grain V-Crown ammo. Some viewers will rightfully complain that our 9mm bullet weights could have been much more comparable, but it is what it is. Much like the golf swing as described by Roy McAvoy, our videos tend to include a nod to the gods, that he is fallible and perfection is unattainable. That's our excuse anyway. When it comes to our 9mm ammo tests, for both ammos we tested, we had excellent velocity, reliability, and accuracy. The 124 grain Elite Defense had good penetration of the gel block, while our Winchester 147 grain bonded hollow point went completely through our gel block. Besides representing 2 different types of hollow point ammunition, the difference in weight allows for 2 ends of the spectrum to be represented. A good option for those who want good hollow point expansion but are concerned about over penetration, versus those who want good expansion and maximum penetration. When it comes to our 380 ammo tested today, while we had excellent reliability, velocity for both ammos, the Ballistics gel performance was more of a mixed bag. While I'm happy with the gel performance of our 90 grain V-Crown ammunition, there are viewers out there who are going to say it doesn't have enough penetration for them. I don't have those concerns, but to each their own. The Ballistics gel performance for the 95 grain Winchester Defender, on the other hand, I personally have some concerns with. The permanent wound channel and expansion were both the best of the day, but the penetration was underwhelming in my book. I'm left wondering how the addition of things like clothes or a heavy winter coat will affect that performance. In our Ballistics gel, in my opinion, it expanded to such a degree that its penetration depth was significantly negatively affected. There are those out there who may see this level of shallow penetration as an advantage versus over-penetration, but I'm left wondering if we'd get enough penetration plus expansion to hit vitals and stop a threat in a timely manner. Now let's shift focus to the heart of today's video, 9mm versus 380 Ballistics gel performance. For all the ammo tested today, I'm considering the accuracy and reliability a wash. Off camera, we had very precise and accurate groups with all 4 ammos. For the SIG V-Crown 9mm versus 380, I would say the results we saw today were as expected. We saw very similar hollow point expansion, permanent wound channels, and even the slow motion thumbnail teaser images were very similar. The 9mm had a noticeable and expected advantage in both velocity and Ballistics gel performance, but the 380 version still showed up and performed well. It is unfair to expect a slower, lighter round to have identical performance to a faster, heavier one, but one thing this SIG ammo shows us is it is possible to step down in caliber without compromising effectiveness. When we take 2 firearms of what we're calling identical size and weight, where the only difference is the caliber, the differences in caliber become much more pronounced to us than they might otherwise be. In these instances, when shooting what we're going to call the lower caliber, that lower caliber often tends to have a more pronounced advantage in terms of accuracy, speed, and precision of the groups. To say that using less words, we can put more rounds on target faster and more accurately. Some people will find the trade-off of faster plus more accurate as a worthwhile trade-off if it means their rounds are a little slower and lighter. For the Winchester Defender 380 versus 9mm comparison, to me this one is a little more polarizing. Individuals looking for the rounds with at least this much penetration will likely be fans of the 9mm variety, but not so much of the 380 variety. In 380, the amazing expansion combined with less than expected penetration potentially lends support to arguments that say 380 hollow points get caught up in the fabric and have poor penetration. We'll need to test that on a different medium like a meat target in the future, but so far I'm saying the results are a mixed bag. Very good reliability and accuracy, but potentially poor penetration performance. One reason I might be a little underwhelmed with this ammo at the moment is I was tempted to say it was the most accurate ammo of the bunch. One downside to shooting 8 or 10 different types of ammo in one day is when they all perform so similarly, it can be hard to say if the subtle differences between one to the next are the shooter, the ammo, or just that particular take. I'm hopeful that when we get to meat target test this ammo in the fall, we find out that its performance there is an improvement over what we saw today in our ballistics gel test. I was very impressed with the groups I shot with this ammo, so I'm hoping it does much better that day. Well anyway, that's our conclusion to today's video. Let us know in the comments what you thought, as well as what ammo you would like to see us do those meat target tests with in the fall. Thanks for watching, and as always, have a good day.